Hello, hello, hello. It's the 13th of January at 10:54 p.m. School is 2 hours late tomorrow in celebration of that. My day being so much easier, I thought I would do this podcast that I've been wanting to do for a long time now, which will hopefully be the first of many in a series called NextGenerationProd's Attack of the Screen Horror Reviews with Noah Fryman. I saw in theaters recently Texas Chainsaw 3D, and my first instinct was to go home and do my first video of this series by reviewing that. But I don't want to do that. I don't want to review a new one and give my opinions and compare it to the originals whenever you've never heard my opinion of the originals, or the original itself. That is a sequel to. It is a sequel, you know. So I decided that for my first horror review, although it's not my favorite of the big four, and not my favorite in general, it is one of my favorites, and I love it to death. I will be reviewing Texas Chainsaw Massacre. This film was released in 1974, directed by Tobe Hooper, written by Tobe Hooper and Kim Ginkle, starring Marilyn Burns as Sally and Gunnar Hansen as Leatherface. This film is so innovative and groundbreaking for its time and even today that I just can't even begin to explain why it is that way. Texas Chainsaw Massacre was released, and these guys had a title like that, Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and you know, people were flooding to the theaters to see this movie that sounds like something that might just be a gore fest and not have any, you know, actual richness to it. Just be a bad movie with lots of gore, I guess you could say. Something that people will flock over and pay to see. But that's something that you get from the money-making business. And these people were not the money-making business. They were the film-making business. And these guys knew what they were doing when they made Texas Chainsaw Massacre, one of the most powerful horror films of all time. The movie just does not hold back. You know, it starts off with this unnerving sense. You know, it shows the dead, I think it's an armadillo in the road, and your nerves have already been shaken, and there's nothing bad going on. And then all at once, it just completely breaks your nerves and unlocks all that fear that you're starting to feel whenever the first person just gets killed just like that. You know, in all these classic horror films, even the good ones and the bad ones, likewise, you know when a character's going to get killed. And it's the same here, except you don't know when, and it just hits you in the face. You know something bad's going to happen, but you have no idea it's going to get killed. Spoilers here. This is the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre, so I'm not afraid of spoiling here. The boy gets, you know, he gets killed with the hammer, you know. And it's not a chainsaw, obviously, but, you know, it's just how it was. And he got hit, and, you know, he shook a little bit, and that was horrifying itself. No music to this part, you know. And then his girlfriend comes in, and she gets killed just the same, a little bit longer, but she gets killed. And this time Leatherface chases after her, and it really scares you. It's different where he goes, you know, he makes his grunt, his sound that he does when he's chasing somebody and trying to get to him. She gets killed. Then another boy comes in looking for both of them. He gets killed immediately, all of them, you know. And then later on, Sally and her, I guess her brother, who is mentally handicapped and handicapped in general, you know, he gets killed whenever Sally takes him out. And then for the rest of the movie, you're watching Sally try to make it out with her life. You know, you slowly start to unravel what's going on in this little area of a community in Texas. And the chase with Leatherface and Sally is so good and so rich that it's never going to be able to be redone and it be good, because with this kind of a scene, it can go wrong so many ways. You can draw it out too much, you can cliche it too much, you can make it too unrealistic to the point where it's not even a chase as much as it is just a staged out run. You know, it looks more like they're running a track than they are actually chasing, someone's actually being chased. But it's so perfect and timed just right. And she runs to Leatherface's house, and because Leatherface has the mind of an 8-year-old, instead of logically making his decisions, he just, you know, chainsaws to his own door, you know. And whenever they take her back into the house, a scene like that, again, it can be droned out. It can be done wrong on so many levels, but it was perfect. And a lot of people say that even the biggest fans of the movie say that the scene where she's screaming is droned out too long, and they could have pulled it back. That's completely false to me. It was perfect. When they got the close shot of her eye, and from what I understand in the documentary, as bad as she looked there, that really was her. That really was her looks. They didn't do much makeup to make her look like the way, because she had endured so much making this film, and it took them forever to make this film. And the cut that they finally thought was the best, she looked like that. And it's such a good scene with its power. That's what a horror movie needs. Let me take a movie like, I don't know, Priest. I hated that movie. There's no power to it. It's just all action and blood and gore. Is it an action horror movie? But I don't like it at all. There's nothing about it that I enjoy it. There's no power. But whenever Texas Chainsaw Massacre takes the acting and the imagery and the story and the scene and the undertones and everything and jumbles it all together perfectly and creates this horrifying realm for you to be submerged in during a scene like this, where a girl is most likely about to die and possibly be eaten by evil, twisted, inbred, insane family members. It just grips you. And then she finally makes it out, and she's on a truck, and she's driving away. The iconic scene where Leatherface is slinging the chainsaw around the way he does, and that's how it ends. And she's screaming, and with interludes where she's making a laughing sound, and you don't know if she's screaming or if she's laughing really, but you're pretty sure she's laughing, and you don't know if she's laughing because she's happy that she's alive, or she's really insane now and she's happy that Leatherface is in pain of some sort. He's obviously in some kind of mental distortion. It's one of the best horror movies of all time. And I grew up watching Halloween. Halloween is my favorite, but there are things about Texas Chainsaw Massacre that I just have to admit it's better than Halloween. I grew up with Halloween and Friday the 13th and Nightmare on Elm Street, but those as my favorites. But with Texas Chainsaw Massacre, Leatherface is now my second favorite. He's right there along with Halloween, because that movie, in all its simplicity mixed with its elegance, is just great. And it's never going to be able to be redone. I really, really believe that no matter how talented the director or the screenwriter, the actor, whatever you have hired and whatever effort you put, you're not going to be able to recreate what they created with Texas Chainsaw Massacre. You're just not going to be able to actually recreate it and it not feel, and it feel the way that it did, that it once did. I'll with the remake, I'm not going to say much about the remake yet. I'll probably do that next before I do the sequels to the original. But with the remake, I'm not even going to say anything about that right now, other than the fact that it feels completely different. And it's meant to feel completely different. They weren't trying to make it a shot-for-shot remake, obviously. I mean, it didn't even have the same name as the original name. It was Sawyer's in the original, and in the remake it was Hewitt's. But, just for all you people who love horror or love movies in general, whether you are a film enthusiast like me, a filmmaker like me, or just a film enthusiast, or you just like movies in general, you have to see Texas Chainsaw Massacre. It does it right. There's not too much blood. Actually, there's hardly any blood at all, really. But there's so much terror and so much horror that you're not gonna miss the blood. In fact, you're gonna be wanting blood and gore just to make you feel like you're watching a movie. Because when you watch this movie, you're gonna feel like you're right there with them the whole time. This has been NextGenerationProd's Attack of the Screen with horror reviews with Noah Fryman. Good night.